everyone, this is Redden from Tempest, and I'm here with another boss strategy guide. This time we'll be looking at Thrasher and his handler, Zarran, which are the third encounter in the new Scum and Villainy operation. Technically speaking, these are actually two independent boss fights, or rather, one boss fight and one mini-fight. I'm not exactly sure why they did this fight in this particular way. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting if they were both part of the same encounter, kind of acting like a Phase 1, Phase 2, or something similar to Zarran and Toth like that. In any case, the fight's mechanics are extremely simple, almost to a degree that it gets deceptive actually. But before I get into that, I'd like to remind you that once again this footage was captured on an early patch 2.0 PTS build, and that the mechanics are still subject to change between now and when the fight goes live. Since we don't anticipate much change for this particular encounter, we feel that we can go ahead and provide a strategy guide for it. However, if they do decide to do anything significant with the fight, we will be re-releasing a revised version of this strategy. With that said, let's get into the details. As I mentioned, this fight may seem very simple on the surface, and it really is, but there are a lot of minor details that could play a huge role in how clean you can get the kill. Let's start with Thrasher himself. Thrasher is the big bull thing that you see here, and he likes to cleave your raid, so make sure that he's always faced away from them. In the earlier PTS builds, players used to use a nearby Sarlacc pit to one-shot the boss by luring him into it, and then just be done with it. Since then, BioWare has tweaked the fight so that he is unkiteable. This tweak is a bit annoying for those of us who do these fights legitimately, simply because one of the ways that they fix the kite problem is by making it so that if the tank moves away from the boss too quickly, using any kind of speed boost, the boss just stands still and spams his roar ability. And the reason that this is annoying is that because as a tank, you actually do need to move the boss between the ledges, and this change made it so that you really just have to pace yourself when you move him, slowly moving him into where you want him to be. Throughout the fight, an ad named Firebug will spawn at the edge of the circle and run to a random player in the raid. His target and his spawn event are indicated by huge red text that appears on your screen. The Firebug will run to his targeted player and put down a sort of plasma probe or fire patch at the point that he catches the player. To handle this, have whoever is targeted by the Firebug take it to an out-of-the-way position and allow it to detonate there before quickly returning to his raid and continuing his task. We found that the best drop area for the Firebugs is near the gates, since the ledges are critical points for the encounter. With the cleave, the kite, and the Firebug mechanics out of the way, we can now focus on the mechanic that the fight revolves around. Every so often in the encounter, Thrasher will gain a buff, which I honestly can't remember the name of for the life of me. The buff is indicated here, and it makes the boss sort of gain a red glow. It may be called Frenzy or something along those lines, but the significant aspect of it is that about 2 to 3 seconds after the buff runs out, Thrasher will punt the main tank and anyone standing near him upwards and backwards. Slightly before this event occurs, 4 ads will spawn at one of the 4 ledges around the arena. The idea is to knock up a group of raiders up onto the ledge to handle the ads that spawn while the rest of the raid continues to handle the boss. The group of 4 ads is made up of 3 entrenched snipers who are immune to range damage and a single mercenary demolitionist. For the snipers, their entrench fades off when they are engaged in melee combat. They have regular aggro tables and hit pretty damn hard if all 3 of them are attacking you, even if you're a tank. The demolitionist spams an ability called Reload, which ends in him launching a missile at random players, which is indicated by a red circle which can be avoided. He has the Unshakable buff, so he can't be directly interrupted. The best method we found for handling this mechanic is to send up 2 ranged DPS with the current tank to the ledge. To do this, the tank needs to position the boss close to the edge that the ads spawn on in such a way that he would get knocked up onto the ledge. The ranged DPS that are going up top need to stack on him so that they can all get knocked up shortly after the buff fades from the boss. The reason we chose to use range DPS over melee DPS for this task is because the key is to keep the players that are going up top situated on the ledge so that they remain within line of sight of the healers below, and range DPS are better suited for this purpose. In the bottom arena, after the knockback happens, The off-tank taunts the boss and faces him away from the ledge, allowing for one of the two healers to slightly step in closer to the ledge so that he can off-heal the guys up top a little more easily. At this point, the bottom part of the raid is still dealing with placing their firebugs out of the way, and the melee DPS are primarily going to continue DPSing the boss. After a while, a fresh batch of the 4 adds will spawn on the upper ring again, and you keep doing this same mechanic until the boss dies. Allow me to delve a little deeper into our strategy and discuss some of the finer details that I mentioned previously. Our strategy involved assigning each of our 2 ranged DPS to a single sniper up top that they should focus down, preferably the left and the right ones of any given spawn. As for the tank's role up top, his task is to quickly taunt the middle sniper so that the damage from the 3 snipers is split evenly. To help the 2 ranged DPS maintain threat on their side snipers, it is recommended that you do not guard them for this encounter, since the idea is for them to hold threat on their own snipers. After the tank taunts the middle sniper, he should quickly switch to the demolitionist and chain crowd control abilities on him. As a Sin tank, I electrocute and then immediately whirlwind him to buy time. The tank at this point should support the ranged DPS in damaging their snipers, and after doing so, he should jump back down into the arena to prepare for the next knockup. The tanks swap between each other for the subsequent knockups, and the ranged DPS stay up top throughout the rest of the encounter. As a ranged DPS on top, you should use any defensive abilities as well as any single target stuns to mitigate the damage as much as possible from your sniper as you burn him down. Ranged DPS typically have very long duration crowd control abilities, so it's generally a smart idea to chain your long CC ability on the demolitionist that the tank CC'd initially. We found that doing this seriously took the edge off of the healing requirement for the encounter. The most important element of this strategy is to remain on the ledge to allow yourself to be healed. After burning down all 3 snipers, switch to the demolitionist and finish him off as well. I'd like to quickly note that you'll find some of those green PvP heal buffs on the ground in the upper area. These should be used as a supplement to help healing if necessary. Now, instead of having the ranged DPS drop down and get knocked up again just like the tank, we opted to keep them up top throughout the rest of the encounter. The problem with this is that when the next wave of the 4 top adds spawns, it is possible that they will spawn on the opposite side of the arena, and since it's a circle, the DPS would have to run around the circumference of the arena, and it would basically just take them forever to get to their spots. To counteract this, one of our core raiders named Don't Tase Me had a very interesting and effective thought, which he named the shift concept in our strategy discussions on the forums. The idea is to ask the ranged DPS to preemptively move in opposite directions around the circle, one clockwise and one counterclockwise around the arena circumference. This way, wherever the next spawn happens to land, at least one of them will quickly be in range of the adds, able to CC the demolitionist and quickly acquire one of their snipers. Assigning your 2 ranged DPS to run in opposite directions around the circle is not something that you must do, but it is highly recommended. This cycle keeps repeating, with the tank swapping who gets knocked up back and forth until the boss falls over. As I said, the fight seems to be quite simple, and it really is. The only potentially problematic element is if the intense damage generated from the snipers goes unchecked. Thrasher himself drops your loot when he dies, and you actually get taken fully out of combat. Once you move past the arena, however, you'll notice that his handler, Zarran, has spawned in the hallway with 2 of his henchmen adds. This fight literally acts like a mini boss fight and only has one mechanic, a cleave. We just CC'd the 2 adds that are near him before the pull, tanked him near a wall, and basically just nuked him down. As I said at the start of the video, I'm honestly not sure what the purpose of this mini fight is, and he doesn't even drop any loot or crafting materials whatsoever. Hopefully, we'll see some added mechanics for him on live, but for now, go ahead and enjoy your free kill. That's it for this video, guys. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe for more content, and please don't hesitate to send me a tell in-game either. Tempest is on the Prophecy of 5 US server, and we're always recruiting smart players for our progression groups. Thanks for listening.